Hey everyone, today I have a new broken combo that I'm excited to share with you guys. Uh, this is very similar to Wavesmith, and first I'll be going over why Wavesmith was really strong. So if we take a look at Wavesmith, it has Protect +2 armor to all allies, but it's not really that strong by itself, even paired with Bordus. It's okay, it's meh at best. But when combined with Alric, um, it just made Alric magic teams very strong. And the main reason was that all of these squishy plus two magic attackers now had armor that you needed to get through. Look, Medusa with the 3 health, Ice Pixie with the 1 health. These are very easy for sneak and opportunity comps to demolish if Wavesmith wasn't there. And so now I have Kelya. While Kelya doesn't really buff anything, it gives the armor that Wavesmith used to give. I mean, still does give, but it's not very strong anymore. So now Kelya, he doesn't buff attack, but what he actually buffs is survivability. And we actually do have an armor, an a card that can buff attack in the Water Splinter, and that card is Demented Shark. So Demented Shark with its Inspire ability gives +1 attack, melee attack to all allied monsters. And now this is okay. It doesn't seem that strong because it just doesn't have enough health. If you look at it, it only has 1 armor, 6 health. That's nothing for a tank. If we look at Cursed Windiku, that has 9 health, Thorns, 2 attack for 6 mana. Demented Shark is looking pretty bad. It looks like it's going to get killed before it even gets to buff its team. Especially with things like Unicorn Mustang with Goblin Psychic, Mycelic Slipspawn, all of those Obsidian buffed cards. General Sloan can buff cards to kill this in like half a turn. And this can be solved because if you remember back to when Wavesmith was around, a card that skyrocketed in popularity was Kelp Initiate. Now this card for 2 mana, it gave 5 health, 5 speed. 5 speed doesn't really mean anything. It's not that useful. But this turns Demented Shark being a 6 mana, like okay, very quite weak tank in terms of survivability to now a massive tank combined with Kelya as well. This can tank easily upwards of 6 shots, even for magic, because they just have so much health. They have 11 combined total health. Most magic cards are getting buffed to 2 attack. Things like the Regal Periton, things like Chimera Princess. They're getting buffed to 2 attack, so Kelp Initiate tanks 2, gets reduced to 1, then maybe gets hit by a 3 attack Goblin Psychic attack. And now you may be thinking, like, this is a lot of mana for 0 dealing, like, basically no damage, because Kelp is going in front of Demented Shark to keep Demented Shark alive. So this might seem kind of bad, but you'll start to understand the strategy once I bring in the damage dealers. And for damage dealers, well, we have a lot of options. Uh, we can go all of these sneak cards. So Pellicor Bandit, we have Uraeus, we have Saber Shark, we have Elven Cutthroat. All of these 3 mana sneaks, just plop them in the back behind Demented Shark. Demented Shark boosts them to +2 melee attack. And all of a sudden, I mean, two attack for 3 mana seems kind of broken. Like, that's very strong. And I don't think there's any other card in the game that can offer that kind of utility. Uh, Not that I can think of. And in high mana comps, because that was what, 12 mana +6 +2, so that's about 20 mana. In real high mana caps like 27, 28, you can just swap Elven Cutthroat for Deeplurker. And now you have a mid mana team, you have a high mana team, and now you need to make a low mana team. And for low mana, we'll take Kelya and we'll combine it with all of these, like 1 mana, 1 health, just garbage. I mean, not garbage because they provide so much utility, but all of these are going to get +1 speed, which is kind of irrelevant, but they will get +1 armor. And this helps to survive against things like Unicorn Mustang. It's going to take 2 turns to kill each card. Helps survive against things like Cursed Windiku even, other than Hardy Stonefish, but that'll still be dealing damage to it, so that's fine. And we'll just plop on a Deeplurker on top of it. And now that's all of your low mana matches completed. That's really all you need to do. And let's look at some optional cards, like let's look at Battering Ram. This is a 2 mana, 1 attack card with opportunity. I used to say that this was one of the best cards in the game until Chaos Legion came out, and I mean, life got pretty OP cards. It got another card that's pretty like just Battering Ram but better, which I'll cover later on. Things like Torrent Fiend, things like Furious Chicken, things like Creeping Ooze. These are all kind of low mana cards to help you deal with the low mana rule sets, because even in the low mana rule sets, those are the ones that Kelya struggles in the most. I would say Torrent Fiend out of these, Torrent Fiend and Battering Rams are the 2 most important ones. Torrent Fiend especially being good because he has a pretty good CP to DCE ratio, DEC ratio. And the only reason I can't really recommend Creeping Ooze and Furious Chicken is Creeping Ooze, well, you already have all these alternatives. You have Albatross, Chaos Agent, Hardy Stonefish, and for Furious Chicken, you have an alternative, which is Torrent Fiend with 1 damage, and also they're both around the same price, but the main difference is that, well, I mean, the CP to DEC ratio is just completely different. Torrent Fiend being near 400 CP per DEC, while Furious Chicken is just sitting at around 70. This is actually a screenshot I took earlier. I saw it earlier today at around 2 or 3 DEC. This card is very, very sought after. And the CP per DEC price rates are not that good compared to a card like Torrent Fiend, who fulfills the same purpose arguably better while giving you that CP that you need. But wait, there's actually more. Because if we take a look at Kelya Friendle and Demented Shark and Kelp Initiate, we realize that there's another Splinter that also has this, right? There's Tyrus, who gives the armor that's so essential to the build. We have Silver Shield Knight, who gives the Inspire to all units. And we have Pelacor Conjurer, who is a face tank, a perfect face tank even. Almost as good as Kelp Initiate, but not quite there because it goes down in around 2 hits usually, considering that Obsidian exists. And in terms of damage dealers, we can go something very similar. Stitch Leech, this broken card printed in Chaos Legion, 3 mana, 3 health, 2 attack. The 2 attack is essential for turning this deck from okay and as good as Kelya to maybe even better. And this 2 attack is just completely nuts. And then you can combine it with stuff like Uraeus, like I covered earlier, Celestial Harpy, the better Battering Ram, Elven Cutthroat with Sneak as well, and that's just like a beta neutral card that you can rent for 0.1 DEC, not in the base set, but not in the starter cards, but it's still very good. And if this isn't enough for you, you can get a Feral Spirit, depending on the situation. I'd say Feral Spirit 9 times out of 10 is better than Elven Cutthroat unless you are running something like... Unless you're running cards that you want Elven Cutthroat to be able to block, then Feral Spirit will almost always be better. And even then, you could just run Battering Ram instead of Elven Cutthroat. And I'd say these builds, they still need testing. Like, there are a bunch of other cards I haven't tested yet, like Time Mage, there's Warrior of Peace, there's Armorsmith, there's Crystal Werewolf. These are all cards that, in their like archetype, deck archetypes, their team archetypes, they perform very well. Time Mage with Kala and not Defender of Truth, Truth Speaker, with the Protect for 3 mana, 1 health, which I'll cover later. And these are all cards that could do very well, but I haven't really tested them with the current teams that I've just found. So I see a lot of potential with the Life Splinter, especially with Lorna Shine, which I have started testing. I've tested Lorna Shine quite a bit, and it seems very, very good. There's Truth Speaker, like I mentioned earlier, it has 1 health, so you'll be needing to block like opportunity attacks with things like Silver Shield Bard, things like Soul Fiend, things like Battering Ram, or even Chaos Agent. But Truth Speaker isn't really like that important because for 3 mana, you're probably better off putting it into attack, so dealing more damage, considering that you also have your Silver Shield Knight. And so usually Lorna Shine gives Divine Shield to all of these cards anyway, and you can kind of forego the Truth Speaker. But there's one kind of problem. I mean, you can't really replace a card like Deeplurker. Lorna cannot use Deeplurker, and that's kind of a problem because Deeplurker essentially counters 2 of Kelya's biggest weaknesses, being Cursed Windiku and Obsidian. Because, I mean, against Cursed Windiku, it's pretty clear. You just deal 3 damage each turn to Cursed Windiku and lower manas. And then Obsidian, it has things like Goblin Psychic that you need to take out quickly, and Deeplurker enables that to be able to kill it fast enough before they sweep your whole team. And we do have options to replace Deeplurker in low mana. So things like Stitch Leech, the broken card, plus a Battering Ram, or even Celestial Heartbeat, that's better. And these deal as much damage as Deeplurker, split into 2 attacks. They have 1 less speed, and Kelya makes that speed difference too, because Kelya buffs 1 to Deeplurker, 1 speed to Deeplurker. And another difference is that Stitch Leech actually has Sneak instead of Opportunity, but in low mana, this really doesn't matter. In fact, it's almost beneficial because usually they'll put things like Chaos Agent, things like Mycelic, not Infantry, Morphoid to block. And we can also even throw in a Gargoyle Scrapper to block more hits. This just makes life better at low mana than water, especially with Lorna giving Divine Shield to all of these cards. In high mana, however, Deeplurker is still very strong. I don't think we can find any real good alternatives. I mean, there's things like Cave Slug, but that's 1 less mana for 1 less attack and 2 less health and 1 less speed, which, again, Kelya is buffing Deeplurker, so Deeplurker like effectively has 3 speed. And maybe we could try and put in a Pellicore Arbalest, but then again, that doesn't hit the back. It only hits the front monster, it doesn't have opportunity or sneak. And that kind of makes Deeplurker, in a way, better than both of these. Well, I'm about to show like Silver Shield Assassin can do Deeplurker's job as well, if not better than him, because she has 2 attack spread over, okay, two melee damage, sneak spread over 2 attacks, so potentially could take out 2 units rather than Deeplurker only taking out 1 low priority unit. And well, it having sneak, well, that allows it to hit the back. Usually people will play their opportunity soakers in front of their actual units that will be dealing damage and whatever. And let's now look at some example lineups. So our, for example, we can have something like Kelya. This is an example lineup. You just go Torrent Fiend, Kelp Initiate, Demented Shark, Saber Shark, Pellicore Bandit, and Uraeus. And you'll have 2 damage attackers with Sneak, and the Torrent Fiend and Kelp Initiate will happily soak up all of the damage in the front. You can go Tyrus Palladium. The only reason I didn't use Lorna was because it was a Divine Shield rule set. So obviously look at the rule set. If it's like Divine Shield, don't go Lorna. Tyrus is better. You can rent him for 0.1 DEC since he rotated out. Pellicore Conjurer, Silver Shield Knight, Silver Shield Assassin, because we had like I think 28 mana in this game. Stitch Leech, Celestial Harpy, and Uraeus. And we can also go Kelya again. This is for, I believe, a 14 mana game. And you can just spam all these 0/1 mana cards and soak up tons of damage while dealing enough damage to win a lot of games with Deeplurker. Some more examples, Lorna Shine. You can use Blinding Reflector as a tank. Just make sure that you're one of the most important things is that you're maxing all of your slots. Because if we go back, we can see all of these games, I'm maxing all the slots. Even in 14 mana, you can still max out all the slots. Even in 13 mana, you can with Deeplurker as well. And like with Lorna, you can have Silver Shield Knight, Silver Shield Assassin, very good core cards in higher mana caps, even in medium mana caps. Silver Shield Assassin is useful sometimes, as long as you're able to fill out all of the slots. This is a lower mana cap where we actually forego the Silver Shield Knight because his Inspire ability doesn't give us that much utility. Considering he takes up 6 mana, we'll have to like get rid of a lot of cards, and it just wouldn't be worth it. And then here's another high mana game where I go, yeah, it's essentially the same. It's exactly the same lineup. So these lineups don't tend to differ unless you're in, there's kind of like 3 modes, low mana, medium mana, and high mana. Low mana is when you go your spam with Soul Fiend, Furious Chicken, Gargoyle Scrapper, Stitch Leech. You go all these small cards that just kind of overwhelm your opponent, or you go like with Kelya, a bunch of small cards plus Deeplurker. And then medium mana would be something like the first one on the left, Torrent Fiend plus Kelp Initiate, Demented Shark, and then Saber Shark, Pellicore, Bandit, and Uraeus. These are low mana cards that can help you really win 24, 20, 22 mana games. And then you have your high mana. So this is where you go your Silver Shield Knight, Silver Shield Assassin, and then spam the rest with 3 mana sneaks. And so some final notes, water has been more tested, but I can see a lot of potential with life. In some preliminary testing, I've played about like 16, 17 games with each one. I've found I have an 88% win rate with life and a 65% win rate with water. And this just shows like life is almost as good as old Wavesmith with Alric with limited counters to Wavesmith. We had Eastwood and Bortus. And Bortus sometimes wouldn't even stop it because you just have too much. Actually, because they wouldn't be able to deal enough damage to deal with you because they're going Bortus. And Water didn't have that many good cards that were that had Void. You really needed to rent things like Torhilo or even Oceanus. And another note is that there's a big overlap between the rented cards. So if you're wondering, should I rent Kelya or should I rent Life? Maybe I should only rent Water. Maybe I should only rent Life because it's like higher win rate or whatever. But because of this big overlap, I'd just say to play both. It increases your consistency due to inactive splinters. You can play these cards. You can play this team when you want to. A big problem with Wavesmith and why it wasn't very good, honestly. I mean, well, not very good. It was still the best team in the format. Is like you always had these inactive splinters that would just make you unable to play your main team that you rented for like 5 DEC. Like you'd rent Wavesmith for 5 DEC and not be able to play it sometimes. With this, you can actually play both of them at the same time because there's a lot of overlap. And so I'm going to give a final rating for both of these teams combined if you're playing them together. So your win rate in bronze will be pretty good. The rental cost is pretty good. Renting both of them is a little bit pricey because you're gonna have to rent. I mean, renting both fiends is almost a must to be able to have a good win rate in lower mana caps. But I mean, if you can find a way, then this rental cost can definitely be improved. For the fun factor, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. I really like playing both at once. I just had a blast playing this deck. Both of them combined, they've helped me. Well, I think Doloshan's sitting at like 1200, 1300 rating. And so overall, I'm giving this 4 out of 5. Very good deck. Gives you a good balance between rentals, fun, and win rate. And the final rating for just the Water, I'd say the win rate isn't that good, even though it's considered good in our format with all these Chaos Legion starter cards being very, very strong. Your rental cost isn't going to be very high. You're just renting like a Kelp and a Demented Shark. You can basically play with just a Kelp and a Demented Shark, but I mean, it's better to get things like Pelicorcan Bandit, things like Uraeus, and they'll probably be at good DEC per CP rates. So CP per DEC rates. So go get it. My final rating for Life would be 5 out of 5 because it gives you a great win rate. 90, like almost 90% win rate is almost unheard of, other than obviously Wavesmith and Oceanus, or maybe even Mylor. And the rental cost is very good if you're only renting, because you're only renting one splinter. It's going to be good. It's cheaper than old Wavesmith as well, which is what I'm basing all of my comparisons off of now. It's a very fun deck to play. I had a blast playing it. You can do a lot of experimentation. Life Splinter being an extremely versatile splinter. So overall, this gets a 5 out of 5. You have to try this. You will definitely have enough DEC. As long as you have 3 or 4, you can try this out. So thanks for watching. If you liked this video, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Do subscribe because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And you'll also be notified of my new videos if you like this. So it helps you, it helps me, everyone's happy. Let me know your win rates with each deck in the comments below. I want to see more people experimenting. I want to get more data on these decks so I can really look at them and see what does well, what doesn't do so well. Maybe someone can prove me wrong and actually go out and make Kelya better than life somehow. But with Lorna, I don't think that's going to happen. You can catch me live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dolonite and on my Discord server, with link will be in the description. Please come to the Discord server. We are going to have a blast. You can talk about new strategies you found, even talk about existing ones. Maybe we even have channels for countering Llama Cron or whatever if you're interested. So please come. All right. That's going to be it for this video. See ya.